Ta-da! What we have here is a Harbor Freight 30-inch bending brake. Can you make these yourself? Yes, you can. And maybe cheaper, but maybe not. This was very cheap. I got it on a little bit of a sale, and doing the pricing myself, I don't believe I could actually get the material for this cheaper than what I paid for this bad boy online. For example, this here machined little clamp bar, pretty nice, included and everything. I think to buy something this, like machined this size, probably would have cost about what I paid for the whole thing. So that being said, it's not perfect. First of all, it doesn't include any clamps or anything, which is fine. You just put clamps on here. But for some of us, that's too much work, and we'd rather have like little knob, you know, like a bench vise has, where you can just spin it down, clamp down your part, and then pow, bend it. So I figured on today's video, something a little different. I would modify this guy a little bit so that it has that feature. And in order to do that, we got some material here. I believe this is all we're gonna need. So let's get to it. Alright, so we now have some rusty tabs that will weld on this guy like such, and they will hang over the end. I will have to clearance this bar, this edge. I had to pull a little bit off the top there, but I'll clearance that and go something like that. And of course my large bolts over there will drop through there, and I will have I'll have to have some kind of retainer on the bottom here. That'll be the nut, obviously. And I'm currently trying to decide if it's wise to just weld it like that, or if I need some additional gusseting, perhaps. Probably would be wise. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, we are going to stick this guy on here, grind our clearance for these guys, and then probably get started assembling our twisty clamp bits. So I went ahead and ground the tops of my 3/4 bolts in order for weld prep, and so these will be the little spindle clamp things that'll spin down and clamp that bar in place. So in order to do that, rather than put a socket on this, I'd figure I'd have some handles, like a T-handle type deal. And in order to not waste money on round stock, whatever, got these here bolts, and I figured this would be perfect for some T-handle thing. So let me just take a quick page out of the this old Tony book and just give it a perfect. I'll just do that with these other guys real quick, and we'll have some handles. If you don't know who this old Tony is, he's a pretty cool guy. Check him out. Well, unfortunately, the sun has clocked out on us and gone to bed, so it'll be done for the night. But we were able to get our T-bolt things made. Pretty handy dandy. I went ahead and put a washer on there just to give it a little extra surface to grab onto. So tomorrow, weld the plates on here. That'll bring it out here, and then attach that nut somewhere down there. And yeah, from there, we should be golden. As long as I remember to set this distance right here between this bar and this gap. Otherwise, we will not have a good day tomorrow. But if I do that, then we'll have a good day. So, see you then. All right, we're back. So, we got this here square tube. That's going to go on either end of this machine bar. That's going to be our spacer to get our little lift plate things elevated a little bit so that that bolt doesn't bottom out down here. And let's get those cut to size, cleaned up, get the rest of our parts clean, and I believe we'll be ready to weld together the final product here. So I think we got all the parts we need right here. I'm gonna say let's go ahead and start the assembly. Everything's fairly cleaned up now, so we should be ready just to weld it all together. Now we got our clamping apparatuses constructed. Now all that's left, I got these spacer blocks on the clamp bar, so I'll just get that clamp bar set into place. I'll weld these nuts to the actual to the thing. Sorry, the welder's screaming down there. And then once those nuts are in place, I'll tighten these down so I know that they're in the right position, and then I'll go ahead and put a bead on these plates to the spacer blocks, and then if there's excess I can cut it off whenever. And that should about wrap it up. Well, it's finished, I guess. Finished enough to use. Of course, there's some prettying up to be done, but that's, you know, can be done whenever. Basically, the point was, I'm too lazy to clamp down this bar every time I want to bend something. So rather, I made these little adjustable dudes you can spin around, then that'll lift the bar for you. And yeah, and you don't have to have a set of clamps that goes with this or anything. Raise it up, slide your piece in, clamp it back down and get to work. Harbor Freight, you know, for what it is, for the money, it's not really a bad deal. The machinery is okay. It's not a bad thing, you know, not a bad tool. But I figured I would just do something to raise the bar. Get it? The threads probably need oiled. This surface, probably grease up this surface a little bit, because right now it does squeak a little bit, but no binding or anything really. It's fairly smooth, and all we got to do now is just test it out real quick. We got this piece of 16 gauge, which they recommended as the maximum that anyone attempts to bend. Let's get her clamped down in here. Couple things I would have done differently. Probably should have made these T-handle bolt things a little longer. They are not ideal, but are a little short. But when you're going for free, you know, you use what you got lying around, and I had the bolts lying around. The instructions recommend no bigger than 16 gauge, I think, if I remember right. So, but of course that's probably assuming you're going edge to edge the whole 30 inches. Let's give her a rip here. Here we go. Oh. Okay, lesson learned. You can't just clamp it to the table with one woodworking clamp, I suppose. Now, let me clamp it down a little better here. We'll come back to this. I mean, it works. One last step here. And then she'll be complete. Perfect. There we go.